Fall camp's cooking, the news wire's lit, and mock draft season is in full swing. You already know what time it is. Welcome to the Devy Dojo. I'm the Sensei. Here with me is my guy, as always, Chris, aka the Shifu. And look, if you've been enjoying the show, make sure to subscribe on YouTube or just follow us on your favorite podcast app. It helps us grow and helps keep you locked in for every session. Tonight, we're kicking things off with a little bit of a quick news segment. You know, some of the biggest stories floating around the college football world as fall camp rolls on. Then we're going to jump into a 5-round Devy mock that we ran with members of our Discord group, as well as fellow content creators. It's a couple weeks old already, so the ADP has shifted a bit, but that's the fun of it. We're going to react in real time and talk about who's climbing, who's slipping, and how we'd approach these picks today. So without further ado, Shifu, I kick it to you.
Thank you. Happy to be here. It was a good week since the last time we recorded. I was at the Fantasy Football Expo in Canton, Ohio. Just a quick hour and 45-minute drive for me here in the Western Pennsylvania. Got to meet a bunch of our network friends that I had never met in person. You know, we got to, hash it out and chop it up and stayed in Airbnb and had some shenanigans going on. So that was fun. I got the honor of speaking on not one, but two expert panels. So you are officially talking to a certified fantasy football ball knower expert panelist right now. So that was fun. Met a whole bunch of people, fans in the fantasy community, some of the legends in the fantasy world. So looking forward to doing that next year, hopefully with you this time.
Yes, definitely. I will be there next year. 100% already planning on it. Getting ready to book the ticket now, actually, just so I have it ready. But I'm glad to see, Chris, that you sitting on an expert panel, two expert panels, didn't go to your head at all, right? You're clearly still very humble.
How could it? I'm right. A humble man, right? Very humble.
If there was
it was fun though, yeah, really good time. Just in general, if you're listening and you ever thought about going to the expo, just do it, man. It was a good time, even if you just do it once. Definitely fun. Lots of people there, lots of networking going down. Good stuff. And now we're back firmly here to talk about fall camp as we approach week 0. I was like, whichever week isn't near one.
We're behind.
Yeah. Week 0 is coming up. So we're looking forward to that. And we do have some news to kick things off. I did follow up my promise to tweet out some fall camp news from the Big 12. So I did that earlier today. But there is a little bit of news. One of the things that I had covered was Dawson Pendergrass is out for the year. He had surgery on his foot, which means that we could potentially see some more work from Bryce in Washington, who is one of the certified #my guys this year. I love Bryce in Washington, and there's going to be a little bit more opportunity for him. So we feel really bad about Dawson not being able to participate this season, but that will open the door in the Devy landscape for even more of an ADP rise out of Bryce in Washington.
Right. That's going to be the exciting part, man. And what a good call out by you back in our running back episode where we did the color belt tiered ranking system. That was a really good call. And I'm interested to go back now after this season and see exactly where we place him on those belts now, because I mean, realistically, he's going to look at like 300 carries right now. Without Pendergrass there, he's going to get all the volume. I just saw him go very, very high in a CFF draft. People are very excited about him, rightfully so.
Yeah, and expectations are high in Waco, so there should be a lot of opportunity for him to on a pretty high-scoring offense. And that's basically the Big 12. We don't think of defense too often when we think of Big 12, so should be a good year out of him. Next up, we have John Gruden, one of the all-time favorite coaches. He's always been at the top of my list of people that you could have a beer with. Absolutely, it would be him. I need to get him in a bar, sit next to me on a bar stool, just talking ball with him. But he has said, quote, "I die to coach in the SEC."
What a quote!
Right now he's hanging out with Barstool. He's doing his thing. He's got me feeling nicey. Yeah, he's got a nice little brand going for himself. But obviously, as ball watchers, we would love to see him back on the sidelines, especially coaching the young men of the SEC.
I think, man, he would be so fun to watch, like as an offensive coordinator. I don't know how well he'd do in like recruiting as a head coach in college football, all the other stuff that comes with that. But man, just let him coach offense and with these guys. I think it'd be pretty fun and good for the sport. But I don't know how realistic it is that he would just be an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, I don't think that he's at that stage in his life, right? You got to run the ship or not. There's a lot of these guys that I see floating around every once in a while when I'm looking at training camp news or fall camp news or wherever. You see a guy like Rob Ryan right now is a defensive coordinator. I can't remember where that's at. Is that Arizona State? Am I right about that? I don't even know. But you see these guys that and you're like, wow, or like Chip Kelly is a good example. Obviously, he just won a national title, but these guys are just big names, but Gruden's a giant name. I don't see him doing anything other than being a head coach, but I'm sure he would like to coach in the SEC, as he's told us. And that would be fun for us. I'd love to see him back on the sidelines. We also want to talk a little bit about some quarterback battles that have been going on. We alluded to them recently in some of our episodes. First off, we have Ohio State. Julian Sand is now reportedly close to winning the starting quarterback role at Ohio State.
Wow, what a difference a week makes, right? Just last week we were saying, what's wrong with Julian Sand?
That was the title.
Yeah, what a difference a week makes, man. So I mean, good for him. That's exactly what we projected and predicted. Good for him. Go out there now you got to prep for Texas, so pretty big opponent there, but thankfully you got Jeremiah Smith to throw to, so
it should be good. You got to temper your expectations like we talked about last week, but this is what we wanted, and this is what we're going to get, it looks like, in just a couple weeks against Texas. So he's going to go right into the fire as the starting quarterback, assuming that is officially going to happen. Down in Alabama, Ty Simpson has officially been named the starter. No shock there, really.
No.
We didn't think Keelan was going to come as a true freshman and take over that job, but this could potentially have an impact on some of those Bama wide receivers.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I'm getting pretty excited about Ty Simpson. Just the pure value that he provides. We're gonna break down this mock draft that we did, and spoiler alert, Ty Simpson was not taken in it. So I mean, I think you could do probably a much longer rounded mock draft, and you still probably wouldn't see him drafted even in 10 rounds. So I think he could potentially provide a really good value later. So I'm excited and anxious to see how he plays. I mean, you got Ryan Williams there to throw to as well. Again, we've highlighted all that. I don't think he's like the biggest rusher, but throw him in on some of those zone reads. I think he'll get you some first downs, and he can operate the offense effectively. And I think he's going to be pretty good.
Yeah. So the Keelan hype will have to wait at least another year, unless there's anything catastrophic that happens, or if Simpson is just really not good and they decide, let's see what he's got. But I don't see that happening. They usually know what they're doing down in Bama, so most likely we're seeing a full season out of him, and we'll see how far he can take him. And over in Notre Dame, another quarterback we've discussed recently, CJ Carr, is not looking like he's going to win the battle. We did allude to this too on a recent episode, but Kenny Minchie seems to be the certified favorite in Notre Dame right now to win the starting job against Miami in their season opener. So another one that's going to be going right into the fire. That should be a pretty good game.
Yeah. They're saying, I actually just read a report today, Chris, that said CJ Carr still has time to catch up and earn that starting job. But obviously there's not very many practices left. So he's really got to take advantage of this opportunity that's presented to him right now with these few practices that are left. And I mean, we'll see what happens. But, a couple of weeks ago, I said, pencil it in. CJ Carr is the locked in starter. And then, this is how quickly things can change in Devy. So, and this is just fall camp time.
Yeah. And we've seen, corresponding ADPs and different mocks and, in the general landscape of things rising and falling based on all this news. So, if you're in any late starting college football drafts, bump up Simpson and Minchie a little bit, because it looks like they're coming out with the starting job. And then the last one that I had tweeted today with my news from BYU is that what's his last name? I should have wrote this down before I said it. Bear, quarterback named Bear, is going to win that.
There you go.
He's going to win the starting job at BYU. So another one. I know that they had a 3-way quarterback battle there, and it seems that he is the favorite now. And in non-quarterback news, the AP poll was released this week, and Texas is number 1 on the preseason AP poll for the first time in Texas football history.
Yeah. That's pretty cool, man. They said like narrowly beat out your Penn State, right, by like 5 points. The closest preseason AP poll since like 1995 I saw. So pretty exciting stuff. And I mean, and if you're just looking at that poll, it really speaks, I think, to the parity of college football right now. It's so logjam there at the top. I mean, you could see any of those guys realistically being national champions. So pretty exciting times for the sport of college football, I think.
Absolutely. And shout out to my boy Zandy. He's a big Texas fan. And, Texas has been kind of going through it lately. But, yeah, if we do this, it's okay. But if you do this, it's going to be the YouTube filter, right? So don't want the horns down. So that's all the news we had. Just a couple quick blasts for you as you're keeping up and get ready for the college football season as we are. And without further ado, we will jump into our mock draft we did recently, a 5-round mock draft. We're going to display them 1 round at a time. Shout out to the people in our Discord, Empire of the Elite, who have helped with this. We also got a couple of our favorite people in the Devy world to join in on this one as well. So looking at the first round, 101, a shocker. Jeremiah Smith.
I mean, yeah, no surprise, right? Shocker. Jeremiah Smith goes 101 in darn near every format.
Absolutely. And he should. And I think Arch Manning should be the 102 as well. You know how I feel about that. We've got different people with different takes on the quarterback landscape, who's number 1. But I was talking to somebody about this at the Expo. When the consensus is one guy, and in this case, Arch Manning, you gotta have him there because you know that he's going to have value no matter what. So even if you personally believe that, DJ's the better prospect or Lenoris is the better fantasy prospect or whatever, realistically, you're going to get the most value right now by just going with the chalk and drafting Arch Manning at 102.
Yeah, and I mean that's a good point. I mean, just the name value alone is what presents itself, and that's the asset that's going to continue to carry value. And I mean, realistically, when have you ever seen a Manning be bad? I mean, he's got the bloodline. He's waited. He's got Coach Sarkisian calling plays for him, who I believe is the best play caller in all of college football. So a lot of good things working for him. He's got great weapons all around him. Locked and loaded, 102, easy. And he's not my Devy 1. He's not my quarterback 1 in Devy. But like you alluded to, you have to take that value when it presents itself.
Absolutely. What's your take on the? You said the Mannings have never been bad. What's your take on Eli Hall of Fame?
I mean, he won 2 Super Bowls, right? I think
2 very good teams.
Yes, 1 was an undefeated team. I mean, obviously it's a team sport. He didn't take down that team by himself, but in those playoffs, he played really good, and you cannot discount that. I don't know what his stats look like overall for his career, but I think you can make a case for it. I mean, Terrell Davis for the Broncos only played 6 years, and he made it to the Hall of Fame. Sometimes it's about the impact and the narrative of your career and how you played in that postseason. So I think he absolutely has a case for it.
Yeah, I think regardless of whether you think he's worthy or not, he's definitely going to get there. It's just a matter of time. Maybe not, first ballot or whatever, but he's gonna make a name for himself in the Hall of Fame, which you can see just like I did with our friend Ben. We went to saw all the busts and all the cool stuff. This year they had a whole section at the end of the Hall of Fame for the first time. The lady was telling me for the Super Bowl winner, and of course that's the Philadelphia Eagles, a team that I happen to root for. So yeah again,
I'm sure you were a happy man.
It's a great weekend at the Expo.
Yeah.
Moving on. 103, Lenoris Sellers, followed by Ryan Williams and DJ Lagway to round out the top 5. Again, I don't see much nuance here. It's kind of like pick who you want. I was the guy who ended up taking Lagway at 105. 105 is a tough spot, I feel like, because you have to start to plant your flag a little bit.
Yeah.
And you're so high on DJ Lagway, and obviously I like him as well. for 105 in a mock, I was like, I'm just going to take him there because I think he's got the best upside of any of these guys, in the first round that haven't already been selected. And that's kind of ultimately what I determined at the 105 position. But I could see why you might go with a guy like Tyson or Coleman there.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I think pretty consistently in all the mocks that we've done, this is about the range that you'll see DJ Lagway go, and I'm okay with it. I would have made this pick too as well. Obviously, I'm very high on DJ Lagway. I think he's the best option right here that could potentially be a 101 in a Devy startup going forward in the future. So definitely would take him with that upside. We love his weapons. They got a really tough schedule. So, I mean, we'll see. Obviously, he has the durability concerns now. Like we mentioned last week, that's always going to be a talking point with DJ Lagway at this point. I'm not too concerned, but we'll see. Some people are very, very concerned about that. One thing I did find interesting about this first round, Chris, is right off the rip here, 3 out of the first 5 picks are quarterbacks. Now, in our quarterback episode, we talked about them being like water, right? They have that title shift in value. So we could definitely see this as the season progresses. We could see these guys start to lose value very quickly, or by the opposite token, we can see them gain value too. It's very unpredictable. So I am always hesitant to see so many quarterbacks go this high in a startup just because of the variance of their value. But I can't fault anybody for taking them. Another thing that I found interesting, look at this. 4 out of these first 5 picks are out of the 20. They're eligible for the 2027 NFL draft. 4 of the first 5. That's assuming Lenora Sellers declares in 2026. If he stays in school, that would make it 5 out of 5.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I've discussed this recently as well. This is the year that if you are a contender in Dynasty, it's a good idea to move your 26 picks. The 27 picks have jumped 26, I believe, at least the first round in KTC, which isn't always the best, use of analyzing value, but that is where the overall consensus is right now. So there's a good reason for that, right? These are 27 guys that we're looking at here. 26 is a much more bleak outlook overall. And that's the reason why you see these guys all coming off the board early in a startup Devy mock. I will say for the people that are on YouTube, you can see this, but for the people listening on audio, in the first round, there was only one other quarterback taken. So exactly to your point, there's an opportunity maybe to mid-season. You're going to be really happy if you were at the back end of the first or mid-second or something, taking a guy like Nussmeier or Klubnik or Aller or whoever as their stock continues to rise. You're exactly right. They could be moving higher and higher up people's boards. And proximity is something that we do typically value. We just talked about the overall talent of 2027. But I think proximity is why Jordan Tyson went 106. I know he's your wide receiver 1 of the incoming class for rookies. And I think that's a perfect spot to take him. Cam Coleman, I think, is probably more consensus pick there. But you're going to have to wait a little bit longer on him. Whereas Tyson has just been absolutely balling out at fall camp. He makes some highlight catches, and he's got a great connection with Levitt. So I can see him just stock absolutely rising to the point where he's going to be one of the top people off the board in rookie drafts next year.
Absolutely. And we both know the man that chose Jordan Tyson right here at 106, right? That's Spencer from Devy Planet. You guys should definitely check them out. They put out awesome work. He's talked a lot about Jordan Tyson, and he might be higher on Jordan Tyson than I am. And I've said he's the wide receiver 1 of my heart right now. So for this man to just put out that love, it really shows how much he enjoys him. And I mean, there's a lot to like, right? He can win at all 3 levels of the field. He's got a great production profile, great chemistry. Like you said, with Sam Levitt, those two just lit the college football world on fire. Definitely predict that to continue on this season. And he's absolutely my flag plant wide receiver 1 of the 2026 NFL draft class. So can't fault it here. I love that pick. I'm a big Cam Coleman guy. And if I was on the clock, it would be a choice, but definitely that proximity to the draft might be the determining factor for me overall, because I think as a prospect and just a pure talent, I do think that Cam Coleman is the better talent.
Yeah, I would tend to agree there, but it's 6 one way, half dozen the other. They're both going 106, 107 here, and pick your poison. And I totally understand why Spencer did what he did. So obviously Cam Coleman goes 107 to our friend Jay Stein. at 108. Our friend Josh selected the first running back, Jeremiah Love. There's been a lot of talk about Nick Singleton potentially being the RB1, but the consensus, I think, is that Love is the number one running back to own in Devy right now, and I think there's good reason for that. He absolutely balled out last year. He's got great pass catching chops. I think he's going to be an awesome pick if you can get him at 108 in any Devy startups.
Yeah, I mean, what a value.
Go. Oh, yeah, for sure. And I've seen him go a lot higher than that, too.
Mm-hmm.
We have TJ Moore, Ryan Wingo coming in at 109 and 110. This is where you're starting to get a little bit more of the, again, take who you want kind of thing. You know, where are you going? Because you could easily have gone with a Nick Singleton here. You could have gone with one of those quarterbacks we were just talking to, and you end up with two wide receivers at the back half here of the first round. And I can't say anything wrong with that. We've discussed about how wide receivers are the best way to build your Devy roster. So when you're in a theoretical startup, you want to start with those guys that you think are going to carry the most value year over year. And that is definitely TJ Moore and Ryan Wingo.
Yeah, and I mean, we predict both of these offenses to really just take off this year, right? We got my guy Cade Klubnik throw into a trio of good wide receivers there in Clemson, TJ Moore being one of them, obviously Antonio Williams and Bryant Wesco the other two. So love that pick. I'm over the moon for both of these. Like, these are two of my guys. So I love Kevin Coleman's pick right here at 110 to Ryan Wingo. That's a guy that, you know, if you compare his ADP in startups last season compared to this, I mean, this is the guy that was going 104 for a lot of people. He was probably, for most people, in my circle, I would say he was wide receiver 3 of his class last season. And so to see the value that you can get on him now when he's projected to be Arch Manning's top target, and reports out of camp right now are just today, actually, there was a report that just said he's crushing it. Of course, the chemistry that he already displayed in a limited sample with Arch Manning has me so excited. They do kind of use him in a little bit of a gadgety role, which is exciting if you play in C2C or CFF. I really like him in those formats this season as kind of a sneaky value. But in Devy, man, I definitely love taking him here at 110, just snagging up that value and the talent that's right there. I mean, you got a chance to get Arch Manning's number one target at the 110 at the end of the draft, at the end of the first round, excuse me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we love the Texas wide receiver core. They got a lot of young talent there, and it's going to be fun, as we assume, and has been now officially declared by Archie Manning. We think Arch is going to have 2 more years in college football, which means he's going to have awesome receivers to throw to for the next 2 years before he finds his way to probably being the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft.
Which I love that, by the way. I just love the route that these Mannings take. Sit down, learn the system, develop, keep your head down, and now it's your time. Like, he's been developing and he's been prepping for this whole time. Hey, we get to see a big noon kickoff, man.
Absolutely.
I can't wait for that.
It's a factor anymore. You know, I don't think it ever would have been a factor, I should say, but he's going to get paid a lot of money just to go back to Texas. So it's not like you're losing. You know, in the past it would be, oh, well, what's the chance of my stock going up or down, or vice versa, or do I not want to get hurt? In reality, even if he gets hurt, even if he has a slightly down year, he's going to be a first round draft pick most likely. So he's going to get paid to play there for 2 years. Might as well do it, get all the reps he can, and be the best quarterback he can coming out of college. Wrapping up our first round, our friend SC took Garrett Nussmeier, the gumbo gunslinger, and then you were at the turn here, and you took my boy Nick Singleton, which I think is a really good value at the end of the first round.
It's potentially a first round running back that I got right there, man. I'm right there with you. He's neck and neck with Jeremiah Love for me in terms of being running back 1 of the 2026 NFL draft class. I right now would just say 1B. Like, they are neck and neck. I think we could have another year where we see 2 first round running backs. I'm not planting my flag and saying that as a fact. I'm just saying, as of right now, I would not be shocked at all to see that happen. So, I mean, to get a guy like that, the 112, when you're playing dynasty, when you are playing dynasty and you get these first round running backs hit your roster, that's gold, because you know what they're going to do. Typically, rookie running backs are going to produce at a high level immediately and give you some good points. So lock that in, man. Give me all the Nick Singleton.
Yeah, and I love him. And it seems like in general in the NFL, the running backs are having a bit of a revival. We're seeing guys get paid just this week, Kyron got paid and James Cook now got paid. It's moving a little bit backwards, but also forwards in the way that NFL offenses are utilizing running backs. So we like to see it, man. I think fantasy football is more fun when you have a million good running backs and you don't have to worry about, well, this guy's catching, he's getting 35% of the snaps, so he's going to be my 12th round pick or whatever. Just load them up, man. I want tons of running backs, and we got another good class coming out this year. I think, we've talked about it being a down year, but I like a lot of the running backs specifically that are coming out in 2026. So that was a good pick for you there at the end of the first round. So we'll see how you started off the second round. The polar opposite. You took a freshman wide receiver, Dakorian Moore. What was your thought process there?
I just wanted to lock down a young guy. I had seen him go much higher in recent drafts, and I was a little shocked to see him there, especially with the opportunity that now presents itself. I hesitate and I pause to put him in this conversation, but he does have a lot of the same opportunity that you saw last year with guys like Ryan Williams or Jeremiah Smith. Not saying he is that he is those guys, but he has that same opportunity, and he's just a damn good wide receiver. I really like his skill set. He's not the biggest guy, but you wouldn't know that. He's able to go up and go get the ball. He can win in a lot of ways. And I do believe in Dante Moore. At least I believe in that revival there in Oregon. And it's going to be the more to more connection. And I'm anxious to watch my Big Ten rival. And it's going to be a little weird to kind of be rooting for Dakorian Moore, but I'm excited. I just had to take advantage of the value. Definitely thought of some other guys that went like immediately after, and Bryant, Wesco, pondered Nick Marsh, Darius Taylor. All these guys would have been good options, but I wanted to lock down Dakorian Moore right here.
Still weird for me to think of USC and Oregon being Big Ten teams, but I love it because they're great teams, and it's fun to add even more talent to the Big Ten roster. Right after you took Moore, your other one of your flag plant guys, Nick Marsh, went. SC took him at 202. I was thinking that that's exactly who you were going to go for at 201. So we got your thought process behind that. But he's also a very talented Big Ten wide receiver, and I think that's a good spot to take him. He's got a good opportunity in front of him this year. He's going to be in the NFL soon, and at the first half of the second round, that's kind of where you want to go. He already locked in a quarterback with Nussmeier, so grabbing two quarterbacks there might be a little bit sketchy if you're starting off on Devy mock here.
Yeah,
Devy startup. Get a little extra position value in there, and I like it. It was a good selection.
Yeah, I always say Nick Marsh is the forgotten wide receiver of the 2027 class. It's honestly because of his situation. I mean, Aiden Childs was just so raw last year. But as we've talked about before, bet on the talent. Nick Marsh can win in a lot of ways. I think he's kind of classified as just a one-type, like a one-trick pony. But I saw some route nuance from him last season, specifically breaking at the top of his route, getting that little bit of extra separation for a big guy was pretty exciting to see. So I think if he continues to develop that, maybe gets a better situation via transfer portal potentially, or maybe if, God willing, Aiden Childs takes that next step in terms of development. I mean, it's just all there. So he's a guy that you got to bet on the talent, not necessarily his situation right now, because we are playing Devy.
Absolutely. You summed it up perfectly. And we had a little bit of a wide receiver run. Going at 203 was Bryant Wesco. And I think that's a fine place to take him as well. I don't know that I would have gone with Wesco after taking Wingo, only because I like to get, with my first two picks, I like to have a couple different positions, I think, typically. But it really, it's just a whim. How am I feeling that day? In this case, he went two wide receivers, and like we've talked about, that's a good strategy.
Yeah, it's definitely the safest strategy. And I think those are two really good wide receivers to make your bets on. And Ryan Wingo with the 110, and then now here at 203, Bryant Wesco. I mean, look, I love TJ Moore. I really love Bryant Wesco as well, too. He's like that deep guy for them right now. You really saw that Clemson offense start to take off last year when they put those two freshman wide receivers out there and gave them more playing time. So I'm excited to see what a full season of that with Cade Klubnik looks like.
Absolutely. And Klubnik is coming up. We had two quarterbacks back-to-back, Bryce Underwood and then Cade Klubnik. The second half of the second round ended up being a ton of quarterbacks, and I like that. I'm very high on Bryce Underwood. I've said in the past that every time I scout him a little bit more, he goes even further up my board. I think he's going to be very explosive in college, as long as Michigan is allowing him to be. We know that Michigan isn't known necessarily for letting quarterbacks loose, but that's a great spot to grab him, I think. I've seen him go in the first before, so getting him at 204 is nice.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have much to add to that, Chris. Just we've seen him go earlier to get him here. I'm much more comfortable taking Bryce Underwood in the second round versus, I mean, goodness, what have we seen? 106, I think, is the earliest I've seen in a real draft.
So, yeah, that's a great spot for him. And then Cade Klubnik, one of the guys we talked about earlier, just being a good value potentially as the season rises. I know he's a lot of people's favorite for Heisman this year. And, if he has any sort of season like a Heisman, he's definitely going to have more value than the 205. So, shout out to Josh. That was a good pick there as well. 206 was Darius Taylor. We are going to start getting into those running backs in the second and third round more so than we saw in the first round, as you might expect. I think that's a good spot for him. This range of running backs is going to be more, who do you like more personally?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of differing opinions on a lot of these guys, but for most of them, they're going to get an opportunity in the NFL. And Darius Taylor is one of those ones we've covered pretty extensively in the past. I like the opportunity to snag him at 206 and, have kind of a steady guy on your Devy roster there.
Absolutely. He just profiles as one of those guys that's going to be able to contribute to an NFL roster immediately because he just does a lot of the little things very well. I think he's an underrated pass catcher out of the backfield. I think his superpower is that contact balance. We've talked about the wrestling background before, and you could really see it in the way that he runs. So I like you even just said earlier, man, I think you and I are higher on the 2026 running back class than a lot of people. So, I mean, to get a guy that could potentially be, to get a guy that could potentially be RB3 in that class. I mean, for me, he's fighting for that spot with Jonah Coleman currently in my rankings. So I think that's tremendous value.
Absolutely. I'm just going to rattle off the second half because it's a lot of quarterbacks. So we got 207, Dylan Raiola. 208, I took Carnell Tate, who I am more comfortable taking even higher if I need to. You know that I'm pretty high on Carnell. Then 209, Sam Levitt. 210, Keelan Russell. 211, Caden Durham. 212, Drew Aller. So a lot of those quarterbacks that we have been talking about went off in the second half of the second round. I was a little shocked to see Levitt go that high. I don't think I've seen too much of that. That was our boy Ben. But as we mentioned, he's got a good rapport with Tyson. And he had Arizona State just absolutely moving last year. So good opportunity in front of him. I believe that I said this on the last episode, but if I didn't, he's been getting scouted specifically by the Steelers. I know they sent a crew down to watch him during fall camp. I know that the Raiders and the Cardinals have also sent scouts to Arizona State's fall camp to watch. And I'm assuming that him and Tyson are highlighting that list.
Sam Levitt kind of feels like a Steeler anyway. Like that just seems like a really good team for him. I don't know what I can't really quantify it into words here, but he just kind of got that Steeler vibe. He seems like he would do very well in a city like Pittsburgh. I'm sure the fans would love him. He's just a gritty type of just put your nose down and go work type of guy.
The draft will be in Pittsburgh next year, so it'll be exciting. Everybody's expecting them to, see their quarterback of the future called with the first round pick, but that's really going to.
I mean, they need one.
Oh yeah, it's just how good do they do this year? Because we know that they're not going to lose, more than 7 games. So where's the pick going to land, and who are they going to end up with? But Sam Levitt could be in that range, the back half of the first round. So he might be the Steelers quarterback of the future.
A lot of quarterbacks in this round, like you said. I don't mind taking Keelan Russell right there, taking a stab on the future. I really love him as a prospect. And he gets to work in that Kalen DeBoer offense and throw to Ryan Williams for at least 1 year, assuming that he takes the starting job next season. But look at that, 212. Who would have thought? Like I don't want to say I'm a Drew Aller hater, man. I just really have high expectations for him, and I want to see him take that next step. And I'm tired of people putting the training wheels on him and giving him all these excuses. I just want to see him go out there and take the next step. So hopefully I'm motivating him. But 212 right here, a little too late for a guy that we know most likely is going to make it to the NFL. And that's what, at the end of the day, that's what you want on these Devy rosters. You want these guys that are going to make it into the NFL and then get that little value bump. So if you don't believe in Drew Aller, you're hoping he makes it to the NFL and you could possibly sell him there or right before the draft when his value is probably at its highest. So I do think, even though I'm not really the biggest fan of him at the moment, I think that 212 is just too low for him. He definitely should be higher.
I agree, and I would have taken him at 208 if Carnell Tate hadn't still been there, because I like Carnell. Both of those guys are guys that I'm comfortable taking at the back half of the first round or the early parts of the second round. So when push came to shove, I was like, I'm going to take Carnell. I think he's a very talented wide receiver. I know not everybody agrees with that, but that's where I ended up. But I thought for sure Aller would go very shortly after, and it took all the way to the end of the round. I think he has the safest floor of all of these quarterbacks realistically. I think there's a no doubt that he's going to be at worst a day 2 pick next year.
Yeah.
But, it's just a matter of differing opinions on these quarterbacks. Like if you're taking Keelan Russell ahead of him, obviously you think there's a higher ceiling long term. And I can understand that. That might be a little bit higher for me to take Keelan Russell, but I get it. This is Devy. You want to take the guys that you believe in, and that's what we're playing Devy for, really, right? You want to be able to say, I had that guy. That guy's been on my team for a lot longer than you've even thought about him. So I love that.
That's the fun part, man. That's what makes it so great.
Of course, is the last running back that was snuck in there. And that's a fine spot for him. We talked about that. These running backs are going to be differings of opinions. And I like Durham. I know that you love Durham. So
yes.
211, great spot, especially if you're playing in like a C2C or something, because he's going to get you some points right now.
Oh, yeah. He's for a lot of our friends there, like Spencer from Devy Planet, said he's his RB1 for 2027. I'm right there with him, man. I love Caden Durham. He's my most owned Devy player currently at the moment. I have many shares. I have so many shares of Caden Durham.
You have to sell some to me, I think. Here is our third round. So wrapping back around, Fosbury ended with Drew Aller and then started the next round with Nate Frazier. And as you can see, there was one quarterback at the end of the third round. Dante Moore went, but this was the running back round, and most of them are guys that have already been playing. But I really like what we've seen here, because this is where I'm absolutely just hammering running back right now. Because as we said, a lot of these 2026 guys we're a little bit higher on than others. But yeah, Nate Frazier to start the round, Denzel Boston at 302, Harlem Berry at 303, Antonio Williams at 304, Bryson Washington at 305, and Mekhi Hughes at 306. That's the first half of the third round, with 4 running backs and 2 wide receivers.
Dude, the first thing that comes to my mind when I'm looking at this third round is this is the value round right here. There was so many picks that I saw here, and I said, wow, what a value. Ooh, look at that. Look at this pick. Look, Nate Frazier could easily push for RB1 in 2027. I'm over the moon for him. Got Antonio Williams, who has a chance to push for wide receiver 3 in the 2026 draft class, and obviously is in a very good offense this year at Clemson, and could definitely get that production profile up even more and really vault his stock. You got Bryson Washington, who we talked about at the top of the show in the news segment, looking at 300 plus carries right there. And Mekhi Hughes, again, a guy going to Oregon, transferring this year from Tulane, getting a great opportunity. And he's just like a Big Ten back, just one of those big bruisers. Really excited about him. So just right off there. And then if you continue on, you got Eric Singleton, Isaac Brown, Mekhi Lemon, who's another guy that can push in 2026. Jonah Coleman right there at the end. This round to me provided the most value overall with all these picks.
Absolutely. And I had to take Bryson Washington, because he was highest on my board. He's one of the certified my guys, but also because I was drafting right next to Spencer, and he's the other Devy ball knower who is very high on Bryson Washington. So it was fun to snipe him. I think I even called him out after I was passing it to him.
You did.
Sorry, man. Got to take him. But he took a guy that I would have taken if Bryson wasn't around, which is Mekhi Hughes. I think I'm comfortable taking Mekhi Hughes a lot higher than all of these other running backs who have gone. I really like the opportunity in front of him. Naturally, he played at a smaller school, but he's going to get a chance to really ball out at Oregon. And I'm super, super high on him this year. So I think that was a great value pick there at 306. But you're right. I mean, a lot of these running backs, these are the guys that we're all excited about, whether they're 26 or not. Frazier, Harlem Berry, we talked about him in our Freshman Fever episode. Isaac Brown's a guy who was under your belt tiers that we really like. James Peoples is one of those guys who I've been taking a little bit later in Devy mocks and Devy startups, but at 310, that's not a bad value for him, right?
No,
and then
for a guy that
that was you that took Jonah Coleman at 312, and that's
ooh,
how did he make it there?
I could not believe that.
Yeah,
I could not believe that. He's my early RB3 in 2026. Wouldn't be surprised if he puts himself in that same like early day 2 draft cap in terms of running back. So super excited about him to get him at the turn right here at 312. I couldn't believe it. I had to check the spreadsheet several times because it's like, no way, man, that Jonah Coleman is here, especially with how much we've been talking about him, and other podcasts out there have really been hyping this man up. Went from 230 pounds. At 230 pounds, dude was juking people, jumping over him, put moves like that. Now he's down to 222 and 8% body fat.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I love
Great
that,
value
man.
at 312.
Yeah.
Looking at these wide receivers, we had Boston, and we had Antonio Williams, Eric Singleton, Mekhi Lemon, all great values as well. I think, naturally, not everybody can be a great value, but I like these guys as targets in the 3rd round. Lemon's a guy we've talked about pretty extensively before. Singleton's a guy who's been rising up a lot of people's boards after all of the work he's done at fall camp. I talked about him maybe even on our first episode. I don't even know, but I've really liked Eric Singleton for a while. So I like that value there from Jay at 307. And Antonio Williams and Boston are two of those guys who seem to be higher end names that you hear a lot in college football world and Devy landscape. So seeing them go in the 3rd, especially behind a couple of these other guys, early 3rd, not a bad spot to grab them for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm really excited to see Eric Singleton now. The fall camp hype videos got me. He was running the little drill versus the defensive back one-on-one, which 10 out of 10 times, by the way, the wide receiver is going to win those reps, but still exciting to see nonetheless. He's got, reported 4.2 speed. I mean, that was from high school, and it I don't know if it was laser timed, but he's fast, and that's all that matters. I think that if you have Perry Thompson take that job from Malcolm Simmons and line up on the outside, Cam Coleman on the other side, if you can get Eric Singleton to play in the slot, he will feast in that, and I would be just thrilled to see him in that role. Shout out to my guy Tom. He was telling me last season Malcolm Simmons kind of played that role, and I don't think that really fits his skill set. It's kind of a head scratcher. Like, what are you doing out there, Hugh Freeze? Maybe he didn't have the personnel, and now he has the guys out there that he can put 2 trees on the outside. If Perry Thompson is truly learning the offense like they say, and you could get Eric Singleton on those matchups with linebackers. I love that, especially in a Hugh Freeze offense.
Absolutely. And I know that the biggest question for you is whether their quarterback's going to do enough to get him and Cam the ball. But
yeah,
I think he's got a lot of good opportunity ahead of him. And he also has the best head of hair in this 3rd round. He's got that kind of zany, long dreads and everything going off there. I love it. Then the only quarterback taken was Dante Moore. And I'm just going to chalk that up to SC having a little bit of an Oregon bias.
I mean, I can't fault it, though. I do like Dante Moore. I think he probably could have waited a little bit, maybe at the turn here. But, I mean, get your guy, right? Dante Moore has a chance to really vault his ADP with a really good season this year. So,
absolutely.
On offense, you're going to get the ball out quick. You got playmakers. You got Dakorian Moore there at least. We'll see.
We will see. And then after your lovely Jonah Coleman pick, you started off with another one of your guys, John Mateer, which I think is good value there too. We've talked a lot about him being a very great C2C or college football asset this year, and potentially differing opinions on the NFL. But at the start of the 4th round, with very limited quarterback high upside options remaining, I think that's a good way to go. That was also the first quarterback you took in this draft.
Yeah, waited a while to get one because, I mean, we've done enough of these mocks. I really like the value at quarterback here. In the later rounds, here in the 4th, I get Moneyline Mateer, right? Boomer Sooner out there with these with this new offense. Well, an offense that he's been in, but new to Oklahoma. So I've talked a lot about Mateer. I don't need to do that, but I loved it right here at 401. I did contemplate Julian Sayin, but of course, when we were doing this mock, this is when Julian Sayin was not really doing too well in camp, right? They were saying, what's wrong with Sayin? Well, we were saying, what's wrong with Sayin?
We were definitely saying
we were saying it's because it's fun, man. It's a catchy title, but, so you definitely saw his value go down. I decided to go with my guy, Mateer there. And then right after, the guard that I thought about taking right there, Dallas Wilson, who you will not see Dallas Wilson go in the 4th round nowadays. That ADP's gone up a little bit.
I took him in a couple of depleted Devy drafts recently. I think there's some people that are still sleeping on him, which, I don't understand it. A lot of people are singing his praises, and that's a great spot to snag him up. We got a lot of these freshmen here in the 4th round. So it went Mateer, Dallas Wilson, Usmane Chroma, Julian Sayin, Jerome Miles, and Bo Jackson for the first 6 picks in the 4th round. And I like that. This is a great spot, especially if you know that you're only getting 5 rounds out of the thing. You just got to start taking those high upside picks whenever you start to really believe in them. And I think that's a good spot to just, plant your flag, take your guys. So a lot of younger guys there, perfect spot to take them all. And we've covered all these guys before, so we won't ream on too much about that. Second half of the 4th round, Jacoby Lane, taken by our guy Spencer. Then Katron Allen, I took him, of course. CJ Baxter, Jaden Greathouse, Justice Haynes, and Eugene Wilson. And we've talked a little bit lately about Justice Haynes being a potential sell. He's not having as much hype in camp as before. He was on our belt tiers, on my belt tiers. Was he on your belt tiers?
He was. Yeah, he was.
We like the efficiency metrics, but it's seeming more and more like he's not going to get a full workhorse role that we would like to see out of these guys before they make it to the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it last week too, man. The pads came on and he just seemed like a jag. Just another guy, unfortunately. So don't sleep on Jordan Marshall there at Michigan either. I think I would not be surprised if he takes over that backfield. I think it's a lot like the situation that we saw last year in Alabama with Jam Miller and Justice Haynes, right? Just a guy.
Absolutely. I ended up taking Katron because I like, having the Penn State guy on my roster, fun to look at. But I also think he's just got such a safe floor because at the very minimum, he's going to be one of those thumpers at the NFL level who's going to get some touchdowns for you. I did think about CJ Baxter, who went right after him. I think CJ Baxter could have potentially been one of those 3rd round guys. We've seen him go higher in drafts before. So seeing him go at 409, that's some great value there by Ben.
Yeah, the talent is definitely there, right? We know the talent for CJ Baxter is there. It's obviously just health. We got to see him stay healthy.
Absolutely. Yeah. And of course, Jacoby Lane, Jaden Greathouse, Eugene Wilson the 3rd, all pretty good targets here in the 4th round, second half of the 4th round. Lane and Greathouse we've discussed before. Wilson, Lane. A part of that awesome Florida offense.
Yeah, Trey Wilson right there. I think that's a good value. I'm not like the biggest fan, but as far as a Devy asset, I mean, but he's gonna be a primary target there. In that offense that we think should do well, he's gonna get some points. He's definitely an NFL guy, in my opinion. So, I mean, at the 412, I mean, what more can you ask for to take that proximity to the draft? And he's going to get the capital most likely. I can't fault it.
Yeah, that was a fun round too, for sure. Just seeing all those freshmen go. Everybody's kind of taking the guys that they were, hoping were there. A couple of snipes I know had gone on in that round. So pretty fun stuff. And then wrapping around to the 5th, Deuce Knight was the way that Fosbury kicked off the 5th round. And I think that's a great spot for him too, along the same lines of all of those freshmen. We've talked about his high upside. There's a lot of reasons that there are naysayers out there, but there's a lot of reasons from a fantasy perspective that you really want to get a guy like that in the 5th round, if you can, just to have on there and see his stock rise with that rushing floor and that cannon arm. Accuracy is going to be the thing that people are going to say most heavily weighs on him.
Yeah, we've talked about those red flags. I mean, but you put on the tape, man, he does some exciting stuff. I understand the level of competition for Deuce Knight was definitely a concern, right? The weird transfer up situation, wasn't performing well, transferred back down, ended his career with a losing record. I get all that. But man, the more you watch him, it's like if somebody can take this chunk of clay and mold it, that's like fantasy gold right there potentially. So to get that level of upside in the 5th round for a guy that goes in the high 1st round in CTC drafts, love it, dude. Like,
absolutely
love the value. I also like Quincy Porter right there at 504. One of those just really exciting freshmen, big dude that moves like a little guy. Wide receiver room at Ohio State, right? You've said it so many times. Don't overthink it. Take the guys from Ohio State, especially if they're wide receiver. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a great spot there. Ahmad Hardy at 505 was a pick that, he's a guy I've seen going a little bit higher and other drafts, and I think that's a good value for him as well, which is why I took him there. He's obviously closer to the NFL. He's a guy that our boy Josh did a write-up on recently. I think he's pretty good value in the 5th round because of the potential for being an impact player on your dynasty roster sooner.
Yeah. Another one of those G5 to P4 transfers. Historically, those weren't always like the best bets to make, but I love this era that we live in with the NIL era where you have running backs that are staying in school longer. They're getting these opportunities to transfer up and show that they can play at a higher level of competition. So a guy that I'm really excited about there. Do have some questions about his offensive line, but I think that he's got the talent to overcome it. I really do. Very excited about Ahmad Hardy. In the 5th round here, Chris, I hate to give you so much credit, man, but it was a good pick.
I thought I had a pretty good draft, but, as we've talked about,
right.
I'm not the most humble guy in the world. Gideon Davison and Caleb Cunningham went in the early half of the 5th round. And then we saw our first tight end coming off the board at 506, Trades Green.
Yeah, man. I mean, a lot to love about Trades Green. He's been getting a lot of steam lately, but I mean, it's a little concerning, and something we didn't really get a chance to talk about in the fall camp reports is the other tight end there, Bauer Sharp, really getting some work there and looking pretty good right now as a receiving option for Garrett Nussmeier. So I kind of have some concerns there. I mean, I haven't really delved too deeply into that, but I noticed that Bauer Sharp was really getting some burn there. And so have some concerns about Trades. I heard he put on a little bit of weight too. We'll see how it translates, because, I mean, in terms of ball skills and going up to get it, Trades Green is incredible, and he's a lot of fun to play with in NCAA 26, man. It's so good. He's so fun.
Yeah, you could set some records with him on that game, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
We finished out the 5th round and final round with Hussein Longstreet, Nick Anderson, Jordan Lyle, Jaden Ott, Emmett Mosley, and Demond Williams. So I like that pick for you at 512. I also really liked the Hussein Longstreet pick because
Yes, sir.
I think you probably would have taken him at 512.
I would have, and Jay knew that.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, punk.
This
I
is
was a little upset about it.
Picks.
Yeah, I mean, Hassan Longstreet right there at 507. I mean, what more could you want? If you're shooting for upside, that's the type of play that you want to make right there. You got a guy in Lincoln Riley who's got a proven track record of turning this type of quarterback prospect into a number 1 overall pick in the NFL. He's got all the same tools, all the same things that made those other guys great. So I'm really, really excited about that upside. Admittedly, I'm a little biased because fight on, go Trojans. But I mean, at 507, great pick by Jay Stein there from the Devy Royale.
Absolutely. I think this was a good way to finish out the round. I like that Tyler got his first running back there just to kind of mix it up. He's got a nice mix of positions on his overall roster. So taking Jordan Lyle was nice. As I said, I like to mix it up a little bit. Sometimes I go with talent. Other times I'm like, well, just take shots at different positions and see where it ends up. You never know what your dynasty roster is going to look like when these guys are coming up to the NFL. So you might need, specific position to come up and take a spot for you. But I thought overall this was a pretty good mock, a nice one to break down. A little bit of slippers, a little bit of risers, a little bit of outside, a little bit of stability. Pretty good mock. We appreciate all the guys that came in. Plenty of mocks going on in our Discord, so join us there if you want to participate. If you want to get a little bit more ball knowledge, we're currently doing a 10-round mock to dive a little bit deeper, and we might break that down again in the future as well.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's session here at the dojo. Look, if you learned something new, you got some value, or you just enjoyed hanging out, hit that like button, subscribe on YouTube, and follow us on your podcast app so you never miss an episode. And don't forget, the free Discord is the best way to connect with us. Join future mocks and just talk to other ball knowers. You can find a link in the YouTube description or head over to my Twitter at Empire Elite. I got a link tree there with it all right there. Everything you need to know. Everything that we're doing is all right there. Now we want to hear from you. What pick stood out to you from tonight's mock? Who do you think is over or undervalued right now? I want you to drop your thoughts in the comments or in the Discord, and let's keep this conversation going. Because me and Chris, man, we're cranking out Devy content every single week. Next week, we're going to be spotlighting our favorite Devy sleepers, and we're going to be previewing week 0 because we got real football on the horizon. Thank God. We will see you next week in the dojo.
We are here. FantasySportsAdvice.com, offering the best fantasy sports social media platform. Why join endless Discord communities or the trolls of Reddit? Fantasy Sports Advice is a community designed to help you win with 24/7 support. Go to FantasySportsAdvice.com and become a pro member for unlimited access. Again, go to FantasySportsAdvice.com today.